So, welcome to getting started with Android. Build your first app. So, we'll be using Android Studio and we'll be building our first app. So, to get started, you have to install Android Studio. You can do that by opening Google, then search JetBrains Toolbox. So, click the first link, JetBrains Toolbox app. So this is the best way to install Android Studio in your system. And if you are on Windows, be sure to select Windows. And for Linux users, that's the one. Or if you are on ARM, you will use that version. So, assuming you have Android Studio installed, the next step is to open developer.android.com. Then just click Essentials part. Then under Essentials part, you will click Get Started. So under Get Started, so we'll create a Hello World app. I'll drag it here to a new tab. So inside the new tab, you'll get the code app, create your first Android app. So as I said earlier, first install Android Studio on your computer. So you also have the link to download and install Android Studio directly from, I think this is another path, directly from the official Android developers site, which is developer.android.com/studio. Then you can download it directly to your system. So let's get started with the code lab. So all you need is latest version of Android Studio and basic Kotlin knowledge. What you learn: how to create an app in Android Studio, how to run preview tool, run apps with the preview tool in Android Studio, updating text in Kotlin, user interface with Jetpack Compose, and how to preview your app in Jetpack Compose. So we'll get started. So this is what we'll be building. The only thing you need is a computer with Android Studio installed. So I'll click next. So having Android Studio installed, for example, there it is. I've opened Vine. Then under Welcome to Android Studio, this is the one. Welcome to Android Studio. If you already have projects done, they'll be displayed as mine. But you can click New Project or New Project from this side if you already have. So you're going to click New Project. Then I'll select Empty Activity. Then we must be sure to select that Phone and Tablet tab is selected. Then we'll click Next. This is done. Phone and Tablet tab is selected. Empty Activity, then Next. So we have to give our application a name. So the name, we can give it as greeting card, the name of our project. Control A, then greeting card. So the package name, we can leave it as it is. Then minimum SDK version, leave it as it is. Build configuration language, leave it as it is as well. Then click Finish. So the project is being created by Android Studio, and the source code is being generated in the back, has already been generated. So right now what's happening is Gradle is building our project whereby it has to install the APIs and all other items in the hood. So let's proceed. We have already created our project, so it may take a while for the Gradle sync to finish. So let's proceed. You may ignore this part, what's new. And so we have the first item we see inside our project is usually, let's wait for it to sync. As I said earlier, it might take some time. And it's usually downloading the dependencies and APIs that will be used for our project. So let's give it a bit of minutes, a few minutes, then we proceed. Okay. It's almost done. So this is the interface of Android Studio. I'll take you from a few parts as you wait for it to complete. So the first item is the menu. It has all the options. You have file, edit, view, navigate, code, refactor, build, run, tools, VCS, version control system, window, help. So we have file, all the actions you can perform in our file, the same way as it happens in all document or document software. Edit, mostly for editing your code, like you can copy, paste, delete, find, all those functionality. View, basically appearances and finding other options inside Android Studio. Then navigation, this is basically for navigation. It contains all options used for navigation. We won't go through them all right now. Then we have code. You can override methods, implement methods, delegating. That's the main purpose of the code option. Folding, all those. We have refactor, build. Mostly when it comes to build, you will use it when deploying your apps to Google Play Store. And we have the run function. So once Gradle finishes setting up, it will generate run configuration, which will allow your app to run in a target selected Android device. Then tools, device manager, you use it to manage all your virtual devices and physical devices as well. And currently we have remote devices specifically powered by Firebase, which allow you to use devices that are remotely hosted by Firebase. So these are the tools that you'll use. Firebase option, you use it to link your app to the database. Version control system, this is basically used to manage project versioning. You can use GitHub or GitLab or your preferred Git version control system. So window, help, and other options. So that's the project tab. We have lots of features. You will learn how to use them along the way as we proceed. Then what's new? I think it was under help. What's new in Android Studio? So this part outlines the newly added features to the Android Studio, and it gives you an overview whereby clicking learn more will take you to the official Android developer website. So this is the current state. What's new? As we wait for our Gradle project to build, I think it's almost done. So the build has been successful. I'll close that. Project update recommended. I'll close that for now. I will also minimize the build tab. So currently Gradle is setting up our run configurations, this one, which we'll use to run our app. So do not interrupt any process, do not stop any process. So currently the sync has been successful and we'll proceed with the code lab. So I'll minimize the what's new part. So this is an interface in our code. So we have just created our project. You haven't done anything yet. So this is the option. We have code option, then split option. So a successful build is needed before the preview can be displayed. So this interface is mostly used when handling compose. Any code that has composable annotation, this is composable annotation. So any code with composable annotation, and the preview annotation, this feature comes in handy, whereby we can only view the design or the preview, split it into half so that we may have the code and the preview section open. So currently it is building our project. Gradle is building our project. When we selected the build trigger action, so currently it's rendering our previews. There it is, we have it. So currently we haven't done anything yet. I'll go ahead and minimize that. So this initially we have, by default it is code alone. You can switch into code and preview, or the preview alone. So let's proceed to the document. So already I've covered this part. So we have two labels. We haven't done anything in Android Studio yet. So the first label is the project view. This is the part project view. Then code view, it is this one, or the whole section. But when you split, in split view, we have the code view and the design view. You can also choose to use the design view alone. So that's basically it. And in the design view, as we earlier saw, we had a blank pen with the text. A successful build is needed. So we had to build and refresh. And that's what exactly we have in our end. So I'll proceed with next. So finding project files. So we'll go to the project tab and we have our project files. So we have the project view selector. We can, by default, after a successful Gradle sync, it will come to Android, and alternatively you can decide to use project files option, which shows how your project appears as they would be in files. So I'll open new window, then it's inside Android Studio projects, so it will be under home, Android Studio projects, greetings card, greeting card. So this is how they appear, and we have all those information. So to show hidden files start with the dot, hidden files and folders. You press Ctrl H, then we'll have them listed. App Gradle, this is how they appear. When you select project files, it shows the files used to create your project, how they appear under your memory, I mean under your storage folder. So we'll go deeper into the source file. So by default, the preferred view is the Android version. Android view. And these are our source code. So I'll go step by step into each one of them. So we have the manifest folder. It contains Android manifest.xml. So this one is used to tell Android what our application is made of. Like, we have our application, all the attributes of our application, and our application currently it's only made of one activity. An activity is an interaction point of an Android application. So this part is where we use to declare permissions. We add permissions. So this is where we add permissions, and mostly permissions, for example, you launch an application, it requests you permission to show notifications. This is where we declare all our permissions. Then we have Kotlin plus Java. This is whereby we'll be writing most of our code. Tests, we'll be doing them here. Then the rest folder contains all the resources needed to run in our app. So this can contain images, the app icon, text values, XML, and other stuff. Then Gradle scripts, we use them to add APIs to our application. So mostly you will be using these two and the libs.versions.2ml TOML file. So this is where you declare versions of your dependencies or APIs. For example, our Android Gradle plugin version is 8.8.0, Kotlin version 2.0.21, and the rest. So I'll close the other tabs and proceed with the documentation. So the next step is updating text. Don't worry, I'll go faster to save on time, and I'll also add the link to the code lab as well in the description. So changing text. So this is our project. Let me minimize the project tab. So currently we have hello Android, and this is our project, the main activity. So the main activity.kt file, .kt means it's an extension to show that this is a Kotlin file. We find it inside our app. You open app, Kotlin plus Java, then the first folder, com.example.greetingcard, then the main activity. So an activity is an user interaction interface for our application. It's an entry point for our users. And what I'll do, I'll just hit run. And remember, I've linked my Android device. So you will basically use device manager, then add a new device. You can create virtual device or remote devices. Remote devices, use it only if you have a Firebase project linked to your project. So these are the devices hosted remotely. So you'll have to select them and ensure you have linked your project to Firebase. But for now, we will link, for you to link a new device using Wi-Fi or USB cable. So for instance, if you want to use Wi-Fi, so you'll first open develop options, wireless debugging, then pair using QR code. To do that, to enable developer options, basically you'll have to go to settings. In your Android device, you'll go to settings, then under developer options, you'll go to wireless debugging. This is the part. Let me scroll manually. So this is the part. Where is it? Wireless debugging. Then pair with QR code. You will use this option to pair the device under device manager using Wi-Fi. So to enable developer options, which is not always active by default, you'll go to about phone, then software information. Is it software information? Software information. Then you'll hit build about 7 times. Then the developer option will be added at the bottom. So the app is currently running, and we have the text hello Android. So when we hit home, scroll up, our app's name is greeting card. This is the name of our app. We haven't done anything yet. That's how you create your first app. But maybe we want to change this text, hello Android. So we have, this is our main activity, the whole interface, everything. Let me minimize the app. This part, this is our activity. The part that I'm selecting, that is our activity. It's the interaction point for our application. So inside our main activity.kt, we have class main activity extends component activity. It overrides the onCreate method. We'll learn more about this in the Android lifecycle, activity lifecycle. Then we have greeting theme block, and we have the composable functions. So this is our preview function, the one that we use to preview at this point. So if I update this text Android, let's say hello James, it will try to automatically rebuild the preview. But when I run the app, as you have seen, James has already been updated. It now reads as hello James. So we need to wait for it to build. So build success, the app is reinstalling. Nothing changes. So what we need to do is, inside our greeting card theme, update the text to James that way. Then when we rerun, this text should update to become hello James. There we have it. So currently our app only has text hello James. Maybe you might be wondering, how did we get there? I'll minimize the running Android device and explain what we have in our screen. So we have a greeting card theme, and we have the scaffold, then the greeting composable function, and the greeting composable function is created here, and the preview function is created there. So I'll remove this all and remove the greeting part, then run our inner padding, alt enter, then hit suppress unused lint. Still we have an error. I'll hit Ctrl Z, go back. So I'll basically remove even the scaffold, then we can get started from there. So this is the main activity. Right now it looks a bit simple. So remember, an activity is an interaction source point for our app, and the only thing right now we are overriding is the onCreate method. Immediately call the super.onCreate method, then enable edge to edge by default. We'll learn more about this later. Then we set content. The set content method sets content for our main activity. And since we are using Compose to create a function, you start by at composable, hit enter, then function keyword. Function name is greeting card. Remember, it should start with the uppercase. Parameters, we have name, string, modifier, and opening and closing curly brace. And right now we are only returning a text composable, which will open will take in string, which takes in string. We use a template hello name exclamation mark. Let me close that generated. Let me clear that. So currently we have no preview available, and I'll go ahead and run the app and see what happens. So nothing. Our app has nothing. Even we can't see the status bar correctly. It has nothing. So currently we are setting in the theme, but we need a scaffold. A scaffold is a building block for our app. There it is. We have a scaffold, and inside our scaffold we have padding. So this is a lambda parameter, and we call in our composable greeting card. The name that we are passing is Android, then modifier dot padding, we pass in padding. So let me rerun our app. As you have noticed, currently no preview found yet. Still no preview added. There we have the text hello Android. So let's add our preview. You can use, so as already generated text for us, I'll hit tab, close it that way. So to create a preview, the first thing, you start with the preview annotation. Show background, you can set it to true or false. Then our composable method. Then the name of our preview representing our greeting card is greeting card. Then you add preview. Then you wrap it with the greeting card theme. We'll get into theming in another section of this tutorial. So that's how you create a preview. When you open the split mode, our preview is now being rendered, and there we have it. Hello Android. Keep in mind, whatever we pass inside preview is different from what we pass inside set content block of our main activity on create method. So that's how you basically create your first application, but let's follow in the documentation for the next steps. So we have already updated most of this part. I've already covered set content function and on create. So this is how you create a composable function. That's covered, I presume. You start with that composable function keyword, function name. It must start with an uppercase. You pass in the parameters you need. As you noticed, we have a space, then opening and closing curly brace. We call in the text composable, which takes in the text which is type string, and we are using a template to get the parameter value. Then you pass in the modifier. So there you have it. Let's update it to be more similar to this one. Hi, my name is Android. You can update the text that way directly. Hi, my name is name. Be careful with the spacing. Let me rerun. It should read as, "Hi, my name is Android." There we have it. Then let's proceed the code lab. Let's proceed. So let's talk about show background section. So show background is a boolean in our preview annotation. So currently we are showing our background. When I set this to false, most definitely we see nothing except the text that way. Usually if you want a good for visibility, set that to true. So let's proceed. Let's change our text background color. So currently the background is transparent. That's the default, because the preview background is only showing the preview background, like it's being created and implemented on top of our preview function. Like it becomes the new parent, but our text currently by default, the background is always transparent. So let me set show background, let me leave it as true. Then to set background color, we are inside our modifier. You can do it directly in our greeting card, or we can do it directly inside here, where we are calling it inside our scaffold. So we have padding, the first padding, then we call background. Then color, we can set it to, I usually do this way. Okay, let me use normal color. Color.blue. Alt enter, import color. Make sure you import compose color. Compose graphics. This is the one. Be sure to have it correctly. So currently it has AI. Gemini is calling fill maxed sized, but our main aim is to get the background color first, then we'll go into other modifiers later. A modifier is basically used to modify the behavior of a composable. So I've set the background color to blue. Nothing has happened in the preview and it's up to date. Let me go to our running app, rebuild it and see what happens. So there we have it. The background color has been updated to blue. You can change it to green and rebuild. Okay, so it has been updated to green, but our text is not visually appealing. So Ctrl Z, let me revert to blue. And the reason you are seeing the preview has not been updated yet, we have to add, remember this is the greeting card function. It takes in name, type of string, and a modifier. By default, the modifier is instantiated, it is initialized when we create this greeting card. Let's initialize the modifier with something else, our own new modifier. Let me remove fill max size, then background, Control Alt L to format code base, comma, Control Alt L. Okay, it's okay. Let me rerun. So we have blue. We also have blue inside our preview. So basically the preview is used to preview our composable function. So that's the main purpose of Jetpack Compose preview. We use it to preview our composable functions. So as you have noticed, text here is black, text here is white. It's because I'm in dark theme. That's why. I'll switch to light mode. Now they look the same. So let me switch to dark theme and proceed with the tutorial. Okay, so let's proceed. We have already changed the background color. And what is the documentation saying? So try to surround the text with the surface container. Then there you have it. So to surround with the surface container, what we do, we are inside our greeting card. I'll hit Alt Enter, then surround with widget, then surround with container. By default you will have box. What you can do is hit back, then wrap with surface, hit enter. So what we did, we used the background modifier directly, and let me remove that as well. And inside our surface block, I'll go into the parameters section, color, set it to blue. So fill max size, it tries to mimic how it fills the entire size of our preview. Let me use cyan. Cyan looks good. So fill max size is another modifier. It fills the surface. Remember, this modifier belongs to the surface composable, and we are telling the surface composable to fill in the maximum space available, maximum size. You can call it as that as well. So remember, we are not updating the preview. What we did is we updated the composable function itself directly to reflect the change directly. So remember, they appear a little bit different. It's because I'm in dark theme. Okay, so let's proceed with the documentation. You have already done surround with widget, surround with container, box. We erased box, replaced it with surface. There we did it. Then, as I said earlier, make sure you import the correct color. We then proceed optimize imports. So right now I have unwanted imports. To optimize imports, you basically hit Alt Enter, or you can just hover to the unused imports, then click Optimize Imports. That way, this makes sure our code is a little bit cleaner. It will look like this. That's how we gave color to our surface composable. And additionally, we told our composable to fill in maximum size, and we can remove this parameter and rerun the app. It should now not be filling the maximum size. Something like that. Then let's proceed the next part, which is adding padding. So what is padding? Padding is adding space within a composable. You add space around that composable. So for example, we have our text composable. There it is. And we want to add some space around it. So what you'll do basically, inside our modifier, you hit dot padding, then you add the space 24, then you add dot dp. dp stands for density pixels. So we have added 24 density pixels all around our text text composable. So that's our text composable with that padding. We can also set padding to horizontal. So when we set horizontal, we only add 24 density pixels horizontal wisely. And we can do vertical. Vertically, it's that way. And we can also do it start at the starting point of our composable. As you have seen, we only have 24 padding, but the rest, they don't have any padding. When you leave it that way, without any parameter, it will automatically apply to all the sides of our widget. You can set it to 30. So I've set it to 30. When I run our app, currently we are in dark theme. Let me switch to light theme to align with the current preview. So this is how it appears when you add padding to your text composable function. So there we are. We have added padding. As always, we make sure to optimize imports. Alt Enter, optimize imports. Then let's proceed. This is the solution of our code. So currently it looks like that. That's how you create your first Android application. And there we have it. It is installed. I click it, it opens. So we'll add more functionality as we proceed, and be sure to subscribe to the channel. Thank you and have a good one.